3, 2, ready to go? Hello, Namaskar, good day, Sat Sri Akal, Assalamu alaikum, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat Mata, Jai Australia Mata, and a very, very warm and a cuddly welcome to all of you to Chai with Vijay. I'm Vijay and I welcome you to the show. Cheers. We are now live on the Facebook and on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this show is to invite professionals and various achievers to come and talk to us about the current in their areas of knowledge and expertise. Our guests are from all over the world. And the subjects that we cover span from Bollywood, politics, law, immigration, charities, sports, health and care, and current affairs. Furthermore, this program is to provide you information. Here, there is no money exchanged, nor there are any financial gains by anyone. There is no discrimination or favorism against or towards anyone, any individual or any organization. This program is sheer for your entertainment and for your information. So without further ado, I am really excited today and delighted to introduce to you our guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest doesn't require any introduction because it's more than 5 times that he's been here with us since we started this program. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor/Dr. Raghwa Sharma, who currently practices at Sydney's Westmead Hospital. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you, Vijay, and good evening to everyone who's watching. Thank you for having me.
So it's been, Doctor, it's been more than 4 weeks that you were here last time, and there are a lot of things that's changed in the last 4 weeks. But before we move on to that, please just give us a reminder about yourself and where are you and a few things about yourself. I'm sure public knows, but just a reminder.
Okay, I'm a medical doctor, graduated with MBBS in 1991, then moved to Australia in 1998. Did specialist training. At the moment, I'm specialized in diagnostic oncology and surgical pathology, which basically is an area of specialty where we look at many different types of cancers, how we can best treat cancers and things, and other types of pathology as well. So I've been practicing for more than 20 years now.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us all that stuff. Let's just go into it now and let's briefly discuss COVID-19. Where do you think we stand right now with COVID-19?
I guess Australia was doing very well after the first lockdown in March. We really had COVID under control. So did New Zealand, but unfortunately, and not surprisingly, as medical professionals, we knew there will be a second wave with some irresponsibility on part of people in Melbourne. The whole thing is back. There are lots of deaths as well in Melbourne, and we are in the phase of actually trying to control in Sydney and other states of Australia as well. New Zealand has got cases as well. So not that it is any surprising, but it's as predicted, the second wave's here. We need to actually look after ourselves because this is not going to go away until end of this year. So whatever hope we had that after August, that I was saying early April, May, I was saying that we might be over by August or September because the way Australia was controlling, it's not going to happen. We are going to have this until end of the year, and as government has organized itself in terms of helping people. So there's really, we are stuck with this. The best option is to actually try and use masks. Masks are available now. So as much as you can, if you're going to go out, try and not to be in a busy place. Try not to go shopping when there's lots of people there. Try and find a time when you have to go gym or somewhere when people are less in numbers there. And if you have to go, use a mask, use a sanitizer, clean yourself. And by now we all know, it's very simple things which has actually helped with COVID, which is having a good rest, good health, good immune system, having a mask, and having good personal hygiene. There's no magic cure. Vaccine is still, there's lots of work has been done. There are a few of them out. Russia is testing, US, UK, Australia as well, but they are not going to be here in the near future. We still have to keep practicing the simple things that we have done so far, and we should be able to control it. We know much more about it. I guess the only new thing I can add to is that as we are understanding the COVID virus better, we've realized that the people who are getting affected or were getting diseased earlier, which were mainly the older group, and people dying were from the older age with diabetes, hypertension, heart diseases, other things. Now we are seeing that it is actually killing people who are younger as well. In 30s, in Australia, there was a death in late 20s.
Correct.
So
Yes.
what we know about it is that people who are younger, who have a very what's called as unstable personality, or very focused or very goal driven, are going to have what's called a immune storm within the body when the virus affects them. So it's very important that for young people to be in control of their health, meaning be relaxed, look after yourself. Don't be, I know it's worrying, the mortgage, the household. There are lots of other factors, economic factors, that are going through people's mind, and especially in the younger age group. And it's not actually very healthy if you are going to worry too much about other things, and your immune system is not actually quite in order. The risk is, if you are unfortunate to get the virus, then it causes what's called this immune storm within the body, where you can actually end up hurting yourself much more, and you probably need a intensive care and all other kind of help that usually is associated with people who are either old or who have other kind of chronic diseases, who end up into that kind of difficult situation. So my advice, please, for people who are watching, younger people especially, try and exercise, try and do some meditation, or help yourself to be healthy. Because if in the unfortunate circumstance that you do acquire COVID virus, it is actually not a very good thing to be hypercharged within yourself. It is not actually helping the people who are of that personality when you end up getting the infection. So just keep that in mind. That's something relatively new thing that we are understanding about the virus. So again, make sure a mask, have a sanitizer, avoid lots of people around, avoid where there are hot spots around the place. The symptoms are, by now we understand it's better. Fever is probably the number one sign and symptom of this virus, followed by cough later on. For influenza, it is the other way around. So if you get a fever and you get body aches and you start getting cough and things, make sure you get tested as well, for obvious reasons that you need to look after yourself, and more importantly, your family and your other family who are old or who are sick. You don't want to expose them as well. Yeah, Vijay. So that's for COVID. I don't know if I'm still on the line or not. So worldwide, I guess there's more than 20 million people who have been infected. Close to, I think, 700,000-800,000 people have died. We have more than 400 deaths in Australia, which is quite surprising the way we are controlling it through the early period. And unfortunately, the second wave has actually is still not in control. Victoria is actually seriously affected. New South Wales doing better, Queensland's doing better, other states are doing better. Hopefully New Zealand is in lockdown again. So hopefully we will be able to control this. Yeah, Vijay?
I lost you for a while, and you can see the background is
Okay.
disappeared. That's
Okay.
fine. Um,
That's all.
my
Yeah, I kept
apologies.
talking.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that. So now, just a couple of things on that. Last 5 months, we saw the numbers that increased were from the aged care facilities and the youngsters, the young 20s and 30s-year-old. Those were the two main differences that occurred. So, how else can we reduce this factor, especially the youngsters one? What can be done to reduce that age level from getting the virus?
I guess when you are young, initially when the whole COVID virus started in China, we had this knowledge that it was only going to seriously affect older people and people who had some kind of illness. So I guess the young people obviously thought, and as they do anyway, that nothing affects them.
Yes.
And on top of that, they knew that they're not going to get seriously affected. So there was that mindset. People were not taking that much responsibility. If you looked at Bondi Beach in Sydney, how many people, didn't follow any of those social distancing rules and things. It's just that mindset that people have, and to a big extent, it is true that most young people, because they have good immune system, they're not going to get seriously affected. The problem is now we know there are a group of young people whose immune system is actually quite charged up, or who are very hyperactive or type A personality, who are very goal driven, who are very worried about life, who have many things happening in their mind at one time. If they do get infected, the problem is they are going to actually can develop a very serious form of infection, and it can lead them to getting admitted to a hospital. So they just have to be mindful. Overall, what I think is the virus keeps on telling us that we need to look after ourselves in a general, holistic manner. Look after our health. Try and control your stress. Be healthy. Eat well. Rest well. Those things are very important. More and more, it's getting obvious. People who actually have good overall health are actually going to manage, as is actually case of so many people are infected, say in India, but fatality rate, meaning death, is one of the lowest in the world. You'd think India, so much crowding, billion population, lots of people really having no good sanitation and things. Although the infection is very high, the fatality rate as a percentage is very low, which means people generally probably have a better way of living their life. You don't need to have big houses. You don't need to look very sharp and professional. It's actually the simple thing makes you healthy. So obviously those people their immune system must be better, because although there are many people getting infected, not many people are dying. And obviously, when you get exposed to lots of viruses and other things in your life which a dirty kind of environment gives you, your immune system is much more better prepared in terms of responding to something which is foreign to the body. So countries where they are poor in that sense, the people probably are exposed to the nature much more, so their body, the immune system is more primed. So that could be one of the factors, because if you see in Italy what happened, Spain, New York, USA, even in Victoria, the death rate is quite high. So just a reminder for everyone, we need to look after our health.
And another reminder before we leave this subject is, do you think in New South Wales especially, and other states where the mask wearing is not compulsory should be made?
I think so. I think people are become educated. I think WHO was irresponsible in the beginning, and I guess part of it was, I guess irresponsible is maybe too strong a word, the thing was we didn't have that much knowledge that time. I guess we understand the virus much better. At the moment, the medical science and understanding is that a mask for sure is going to help you protect from the virus. So, and I think there's enough masks around now. Most of the countries have all, personal protective equipment and things are around now. So I think there is no need for people not to take a mask. Make sure you wear a mask if you're going out.
Actually.
Yeah, my
Okay.
advice, I think general advice is actually to wear a mask, although the government is not actually as a rule saying to anyone. But Victoria is doing it. Most of the world is doing it.
Yes.
The science is there. The knowledge is there. So make sure, please take a mask, take a sanitizer, do the social distancing, avoid as much as you can, and still for a few more months.
Where you mentioned India, where the death rate is not as much according to the population size. That's where they wear masks compulsory. So that's working there. Anyway, let's move from COVID-19 and go to this beautiful, a very, very hot subject, microbiome health, the human microbiome health. Now, I don't think, to my knowledge, people are not aware of what this means, what this is. And if we can kind of, go through some of the important things on this and educate us. Microbiome health. First of all, what is it? How do you define a microbiome health?
Microbiome, micro means small, tiny organisms. These are usually organisms we can only see under microscope. So they are microorganisms. For about 300 years ago, 200 years ago, when the medical science was being developed, we used to get lots of infection. So they were caused by microorganisms, which were external to our body, basically. So COVID virus is an example. It's a microorganism. It's a virus. So there are thousands of bacteria. There are fungi. There are yeast. There are many different types of organisms which are very tiny. In relation to microbiome is a term used for microorganisms that live within our gut. And gut meaning our tummy, our stomach, not truly stomach. Stomach is where the food gets digested, and it goes into what's called a loop of large bowel, more than like 8 meters long. Then it twists around in a large bowel. So that area is where bacteria live, and there are actually more than 100 trillion microorganisms which live within our gut system.
Okay.
We have about 10 trillion cells. So if you compare us versus the amount of bacteria and other organisms that we live, we are only 1/10 in number of the different types of cells that are in the body. So about 100 trillion microorganisms live in this body. This, why most people don't know, and it is relatively new to even medical professionals, is that the whole understanding of microbiome or our gut health, it has only been developed in last 10, 15 years. So it's only coming to the forefront, and it is actually a very, very important area of health that is being developed, and it has a lot of practical applications, because it is something, if we are going to understand, we are going to help prevent lots of illnesses. So we can talk through it. So good gut health, meaning good stomach, tummy health, is maintained by trillions of bacteria within our cells. And we have to make sure we have a proper balance of this kind of bacteria and other types of yeast or fungi that are within this gut. Because, as I say, within last 10, 15 years, what has been shown is that good health is related directly to our immune system. It is related to our mood. It is related to what's called a gut to our brain axis. So there is a link between our gut system and our brain system. Similarly, it is associated with our mental health. Lots of autoimmune diseases are associated with good health, or meaning poor health. endocrine disorders, skin disorders, like lots of other skin condition, allergic type of conditions, asthma, and heart disease as well as cancers. So there is a whole range of conditions that are directly related to the imbalance in the microorganisms that are living within our gut system. So it's quite a serious thing.
Yes. So then what is a good gut health? What does it have? What's a balance?
So 100 trillion bacteria or microbiomes, so microorganisms within our gut system need to be maintained. It's a very diverse, what's called an ecology system. So like when you live in a rural setting, the ecology system is quite broad, very diverse. And that's why the nature in itself is very stable when you are living in like a rural setting, because you're exposed to lots of good things. There's rivers, there's greenery, there's lots of organic food, fresh food. But within a setting of a city dweller, it's a concrete kind of jungle. So your nature connection is actually missing. Within our gut system, also, there is an ecology, a system of more than 100 trillion bacteria which maintain good health. And that is dependent on what and how we live our life, basically. What are we eating? What are we drinking? How stressed are we? All these factors are actually very important in maintaining that diversity of the microbiome or the microorganism that live within our gut system. So we have to be very mindful of what we do to our gut system, because you know what we thought for all these years, that this gut system was very simple type of machinery. Only we put food in our mouth, it goes through the stomach, it gets digested, and blood takes in, which is the calories, proteins, vitamins, minerals, etc. And what is left is expelled. Now, the truth is actually the whole system is much, much more complex. It's only been understood. It's only being understood because of the what's called the Human Genome Project. And this was done in year 2000 onwards, where we were able to map our body. So we have more than like 20,000 genes in our body. Then with the help of the technology, then we started studying what were other things that live within our body. And then we couldn't culture them, we couldn't grow them before. We are only knowing few types of bacteria that were in the body that we understood before. This Human Genome Project or technologies that have been developed thereafter. So that has given us this capacity to actually do tests within our system. And we know now, as I said, more than 100 trillion types of microorganisms live in our body system. So now that we know that they are there, we now understand by different studies that have been done on rats and other animals, that if, for example, if you gave rat artificial sweetener, which is becoming very popular with people who don't want to take sugar, they think taking a artificial sweetener will actually avoid them getting sugar, which is true. But what it does in all these experiments and studies that are being done, those rats who are given these things actually become very diabetic very quickly. They become very fat. They really become obese very quickly, those fats, as controls of other rats which are not given this type of sweetness. And when you test these rats, their poo, and see what is their microbiome or microorganisms that are present within their gut system, it shows that those kind of artificial sweeteners are actually reducing their microbiome or the microorganisms that are present within your gut system. Almost 90% are gone. So studies like these have shown that maintenance of this diversity of good bacteria versus bad bacteria within our gut system is very important, because these. So another example I'll give you. people put so much effort in trying to maintain their weight. A lot of people eat very little. They do a lot of exercise, but they're still getting obese. So now the understanding is that there are certain types of bacteria which helps in what's called absorbing different types of calories in our body. So if that population of bacteria is the one, that particular person has many of them in their tummy, what it is doing is it is absorbing every bit of calorie from your food and pushing it in your blood. So no matter with the exercise or with your diet control, the little that you eat is actually converted into calories. So these are again different studies have shown that those kind of bacteria, when they predominate, and normally what happens if you eat high fiber food, there's hardly any calories. But we know now there are certain types of bacteria, even they can break these what's called fiber things and extract about 10 to 15% more calories from them. So the gut health balance is very important for obesity, for diabetes. Similarly, for heart disease, there are certain types of bacteria which produces toxins, which is going to block your arteries. And once you get a blocked artery in your heart, you get a heart attack, or in your brain, you get a stroke. Similarly, so things which changes the balance of your gut bacteria, number one thing is sugar, refined sugar, and artificial sweetness as well. Number two, any kind of drinks which have additive sugar like fructose-based, corn syrup, soda, all these things actually change your bacterial flora. And the bacteria which were supposed to be within a balanced number in your gut, in your large bowel, suddenly are imbalanced. There's a predominance of certain type of bacteria which is either going to make you get obese. Other type of bacteria are which then move out of your gut and out into the surface of the large bowel or the intestine that you have. So normally the intestine has a slimy layer. It's called mucus. So mucus is a naturally protective layer on top of your stomach, your esophagus. It helps food pass through. In the stomach, it prevents it from burning from the acid that we produce for breaking down of food. In the small bowel, there are slimy things present there naturally. They are protective mechanisms for your bowel so that food is absorbed and goes through. But if that mucus layer is disturbed, the bacteria that are healthy inside the gut can move outside. And if that happens, then it can cause inflammation in your blood system. And inflammation is now understood as to be one of the most important reasons why you get heart attack, you get cancers and other types of illnesses in your body, autoimmune diseases, lots of these kind of diseases.
This is inflammation of what?
Sorry?
What is the inflammation?
Inflammations mean, so when your bacteria goes outside from your gut into the blood, it is foreign. It's like a virus coming into our throat, like the COVID virus. It causes inflammation. That's why I start getting fever and coughing. So naturally, normal bacteria which are living there are not supposed to go there. So because of the mucus layer is detached or eroded by soda drinks, by alcohol, by refined foods, all these things actually exposes your gut wall to those good bacteria which can actually cause damage. Second thing is, when that mucus layer or that slimy layer is affected, you have to understand there's a special type of amino acid called butyrate. Butyrate is a component of that mucus or that slimy substance that covers your bowel as a protective mechanism. It only comes from eating plant-based foods. It doesn't, if you eat a lot of animal-based protein, it actually damages that slimy layer. because it produces what's called hardened sulfide or sulfide-based components, which destructs that mucus. So there's another evidence to show why you should actually eat lots of plant-based food, lots of legumes, lots of nuts. Try as much as possible. Do that. It is actually going to maintain a good gut health and protect you from the good bacteria that are inside you, not to damage the wall of the stomach, because as you know, there are lots of chemicals in especially animal protein. When it is eaten, if the bowel is exposed, then it can enter, and that's how cancers and other things, especially cancers of the stomach and large bowel, happens. So maintaining a good microbiome is very important. So it produces what's called short chain fatty acids within the large bowel. Those bacteria produces it, and they are very important in actually maintaining a good immune system. So when we say about omega-3, omega-6, other components which are required in the fat are actually produced by the bacteria within our gut, and they are essential for the good functioning of your brain. People or medical science now believes what's called Alzheimer's disease, where you get dementia, you start becoming forgetful, as a condition called type 3 diabetes. We had two types of diabetes. One was like occurs in young people, one occurs in older people as part of metabolic syndrome. So the third type of diabetes now being referred to Alzheimer's disease is mainly because of this condition where your microbiome or microorganisms that live in your gut are affected so badly that it is exposed to insulin, sugar, and all other factors actually that causes diabetes is directly associated with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Why it's probably important to understand this thing is because this knowledge is going to help you actually almost prevent, or if you have the disease, actually you are going to start reversing the disease very quickly as well. So as soon as the studies, all these medical studies that are being done show that as soon as you are able to change or rebalance your microbiome of your gut, if you have diabetes, you'll be able to help control your sugar better. If you have other types of diseases like obesity, mood swings, depression even, lots of if you go to a counselor and other psychiatrists will now will advise you to make sure you have a proper diet, because a lot of these good substance called like serotonin and things, a lot of these things is actually produced by this bacteria within our gut. Apart from other endocrine organs within the brain, they are produced by gut. So depression is directly related to those things. So probably most people in our community know that there are somebody in the family who has blood in their, when they go to the toilet, or they have diarrhea multiple times in a day. They can't form solid stools. This is not uncommon disease. It's actually relatively common disease. It's called colitis, or it's called Crohn's disease. There's another one called ulcerative colitis. These diseases are directly associated with this microbiome imbalance within the gut. They hurt or they burn the bowel so badly that anything that you eat is actually goes through your entire bowel system, and people, whoever is listening to has any of this, is unlucky to get this disease. It's a very painful disease. Eventually, most of these people actually lose much of their bowel, and they have to have a stump created and a bag fitted to their abdomen.
Stoma bag.
Yeah, stoma. So there are these conditions. Why I can so strongly say these things is because at Westmead Hospital now, we do what's called poo transplant or fecal transplant. So people who have healthy gut life, meaning good number of good and bad bacteria in a balance, in a very diverse manner, they have a very stable bowel. Like most of us who don't have any gut problems, have a good microbiome numbers in them. So those people donate their poo, and it is purified in a manner, and using colonoscopy, they are transplanted in people who have this kind of colitis, say ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, and things like this, which are very serious illness, where these people respond dramatically, very quickly. Within weeks, they would have suffered for 5-6 years and tried all different types of tablets and medications, really, which is immunosuppression. It's not helping. But this particular therapy is actually making a lot of difference. Why I'm mentioning is just to drive home the point that this having a good gut microbiome is very important, not for only for those local illnesses like colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease and things, or people who have multiple types of diarrhea in the day, or other people have what's called irritable bowel syndrome, where they can't actually have, the food keeps passing, whatever they eat, they can't actually absorb. So that's acutely, it helps those people. But in a bigger sense, it will help with your obesity, like people who are unable to control their fat, your heart disease, your brain health, mood swings, and most importantly, your cancers as well. So, the whole medical sector, yeah.
In a normal person's language, then this is the solution for everything.
I mean, I guess this is
to have a health. Sorry, Doc. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess nothing is total. One thing is never a solution, but I mean, it has taken good 300 years for medical science to actually reach here. We didn't understand. We thought the whole gut system was just a channel or a machinery which absorbed food for us. We didn't care too much about it. But now, only last 10-15 years, it's being now understood that no, making sure how you eat your food is important. Making sure you chew your food, which our grandparents always told us, is absolutely important. Make sure the food is chewed so much that it only becomes like tiny pieces and mixed with all the juices, because those juices are required to be part of the digestive process. It goes down. Make sure you don't drink water when you are eating food. Very basic sort of things to do. If you have to drink water, make sure it's half an hour before eating or 2.5 hours after your food. So very simple things that we thought didn't matter is actually matters a lot. Making sure you are not taking drinks which have very high sugar or altered type of sugars, fructose based things like soda, like alcohol and other things, which not only loses the tone of a sphincter where bile and acid can come up as reflux disease, but it actually drains out or kills your bacteria. So that's how the imbalance of this gut microbiome happens. So refined foods, a lot of sugary foods, a lot of artificial sweetness, very high animal-based food, proteins are not good as well. Then I guess I can add here, the latest research shows that all of us are at risk of getting cancers because our genes mutate or there's alterations. All of us are at risk because 10 trillion cells, everyone is replicating every moment. The risk is there. We will have some alterations which can cause cancers. The thing about most of us is that we have good immune system. It gets picked, it's got removed. But the science today shows people who eat very high amounts of animal protein, somehow those silent cancer risk becomes exposed. So we all are at risk. But if you have too much protein, especially animal-derived protein, because it affects your guts, butyrate or that slimy component, it starts exposing you to those carcinogenic effect of the meat. So these are kind of understanding that's happening only very recently. So try and actually make sure you have As I said, eat properly. Make sure I have lots of nuts, legumes in your food, lots of fiber in your food, vegetables. The other point before, I guess I should mention is, we think using supplements will cover us if you're not going to eat good, healthy vegetables. The problem is now, because we understand the complexity of how food absorption happens, trying to extract a single thing and make a supplement and put it as a tablet is not quite the same as taking the food in a whole manner. So somehow your gut system requires food to go in a whole manner. So apple has to be eaten as apple rather than not vitamin C tablets. Yeah, it does help, but there's a bigger impact having an apple or an orange
by itself.
having in a totality rather than extracts of it thinking in a tablet will do the same job. The studies that are being done doesn't show that kind of impact. Although, if somebody's got scurvy, you have to give them vitamin C. If you have anemia, we'll give you iron. Most of the medical practice that what we have been doing for all these years has been targeted therapy. Or we know about one thing, then we will give you that same thing to treat it. But the body now is understood to be functioning in a much complex manner. So it has to be looked in a totality, and that's why good gut health is very important to help you with all these different types of illnesses, including being getting obese. You can help yourself.
So things like vitamins, probiotics, prebiotics, what do you say to that?
So, traditionally, all different types of diets all over the world have fermented foods. We have fermented foods. Yeah, we Indians take yogurt. In Middle Eastern culture, there's other things. Japanese have kombucha, kimon. There's lots of other things. I can't remember the names of them. But people have fermented foods forever. They've been taking, and fermentation is what bacteria does in your gut. On average, per day, our bacteria within our gut produces amount of alcohol equivalent to one bottle of beer.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make you tipsy or anything. I mean, it does make you feel good because, but that's the amount of fermentation the bacteria does in your body. So taking fermented food is very important. So anything like prebiotic foods are like apple, asparagus, broccoli, good healthy vegetables, cucumbers, cabbage. They are called prebiotic food. They help you with what's called bacterial growth. But if you don't have that, and if you want to take Yakult or other types of drinks that are being produced, to basically they contain what's called lactobacilli, and this is one of those bacteria that we require within our tummy to balance the gut flora. So prebiotic or biotic type of drinks is important. Taking yogurt, taking kombucha, taking other types of fermented food, as I mentioned, are very important to actually maintaining a good population of bacteria in our tummy.
Right. So we should all follow that microbiome diet, as you say, foods to eat and foods not to eat.
Yeah. I mean, it is actually not rocket science. This is all we used to do. Once we've moved, like people living in city dwellers like us, our gut flora goes down by 30% just by living in a city setting. While if you go in a village setting, they have 100% balance in their gut flora. So just living in an environment like this, because we have stress, because we are eating too many refined foods, because we are drinking too much alcohol, because we are drinking too much soda, which is not the habit usually. I guess it's changing in rural setting as well now. But in a city dwelling setting, our flora is already down. We are over stressed anyway. So stress, as we talked before, actually directly erodes away your mucus component in your gut. That slimy layer that is there to protect you is actually removed by the dearrangement of the different types of hormones that are in your body, cortisols, ICTH, epinephrine, all these hormone balance are not there. So stress, all these other things that I said are putting us at huge risk. And because we didn't talk about this, because our grandparents only followed this, and our parents moved over, and we basically didn't learn about these things, we have lost this knowledge. And luckily, because of the Human Genome Project and the medical science, which is growing every day, is suddenly now bringing this traditional knowledge that was always there, of having good, healthy diet, organic, lots of green vegetables, lot of legumes, lot of plant-based food, and drinking a lot of water. Very important to make sure you cleanse your tummy. They are basically, that's why it is important to understand, because this is not rocket science. And having yogurt and other fermented food as a part of your diet,
yes,
is very important.
Also, talking about drinking, I personally don't drink, but a glass of red wine is okay from time to time. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, I guess everything, life is about balance and moderation, same as good and bad bacteria in your gut. So nobody's here saying like you have to give up everything, but there are certain things like, I mean, once in a while, red wine does no harm. If anything, it does a little bit of good, because red wine or any food which is colored gives you what's called phytophenols. And phenols based foods are antioxidants. So red wine, dark chocolate, your purple onion, your purple cabbage, anything that is of colored fruit or vegetable, make sure you have. That's why the nature has given you diversity. There's a reason to it. As your gut has a diverse number of bacteria, there's diverse number of organic foods available. So we have to learn to eat all those things, because they all contribute towards the growth of this bacteria, because the bacteria needs food as well. We need to feed the bacteria. If you don't feed the bacteria will damage your gut. And that's what happens in obesity, because the wrong type of bacteria starts living there, and then it is actually causing more harm, and it actually interferes in your effort to reduce your weight even. So very exciting, relatively new knowledge for people to take home, and if you start practicing these things, taking lots of high fiber food, green vegetables, trying to balance your stress by doing some meditation, walking, bit of yoga, all these things are becoming part of Western science now. It's no more, Indian medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, or anything. So this is really becoming mainstream medicine, as I say. Fecal transplant or food transplant, you don't want to be in a situation that you need to actually get somebody's poo put in your body. One day what will happen, we'll have to make capsules of poo, and people will have to eat it otherwise. If you don't actually seriously start looking after your gut health, there won't be a choice. Then we'll have to pack somebody's poo with all those good bugs, and you swallow it. Maybe that's what will be the solution. But
this from top of your memory, are there many clients, many patients doing that at the moment?
It's a very major health issue. My area of work is diagnosing people with what's called inflammatory bowel disease, where you get dysentery type of blood in your bowel. People can't digest food, they're losing weight. It's a very serious sickness, and it's very common disease, and occurs in young people. Occurs directly. We know people who take Coke in the morning as breakfast drink, who pick up McDonald's, some fast refined food, and has a breakfast. At lunchtime again there is some fast food, and in the evening you continuously do that behavior of eating that kind of food for few years, and people have tested by going on these diets, you will 100% end up getting inflammatory bowel disease, which is called either Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, and they are only treated now by this kind of transplant, where you push back somebody else's poo in your colon.
Yeah. So I've just got a couple of people asking whether we can write down the foods to eat and foods not to eat, which I will take an action and write
Yeah,
down on our Facebook, if that's okay, Doctor.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, basically, if people are listening, I'll tell them high fiber foods, which comes with lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of colored, different types of colored foods, like as I mentioned, purple onion or purple cabbage, apart from the usual green types that we eat. Take garlic and onion. They are very helpful in terms of anti-cancer properties and immune type of development of your body. We talked about fermented food, so yogurt, but be mindful of yogurt. Yeah, those yogurt that are sold in Coles and Woolies are 90% sugar. So you have to know, you have to get a proper yogurt which is not actually filled with sugar and makes you tasty, and it's actually not the real thing. So have a proper type of yogurt, kombucha, or any other kind of fermented food. Sauerkraut, it's called tempeh, all other miso, Japanese food, or kombucha, as I said, Taiwanese or Chinese. They're different types of food, fermented food, but make sure it's not sugary type of food. The second thing I said is make sure you balance your general stress that you are undergoing by walking 30 minutes a day. If you know a little bit of meditation in yoga, try and do practice, because it will keep your immune system in check. Make sure you have good sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The bacteria are living organisms, yeah, that gut microbes. They need to sleep as well. So a person who is going to be awake until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock is actually keeping the bacteria awake as well. So bacteria are going to become sick in that manner. They are not performing good either. So it's not only important for you to sleep on time and wake up early before the sunrise. It actually, there's a rhythm for bacteria in our gut as well. They need to have a rest as well to do these jobs that they are doing anyway. So having good sleep, good exercise, taking those kind of foods that I mentioned, cutting down as much as you can red meat off your diet. Don't drink soda, please. Soda is very harmful to our gut health. Try and whatever we thought about artificial sweetness is very, very bad to the body. Microorganisms are being killed by soda and artificial sweetness. We really don't need to add sugar to our food. There's enough sugar usually in whatever food we eat anyway. So as much as you can, try and avoid the refined sugars that we buy from the shops. So those are some of those things that can keep you in check. The other thing is maintaining, for children growing. I better mention here that now more and more we are able to understand that at delivery, a baby needs to expose to mother's secretions. So good, smart obstetricians, what they do, if you are going to have a C-section or cesarean section where the baby is removed by the surgeon, a good, smart obstetrician will take out mother's secretions and put it in baby's mouth, in the nose, in the ears, because the baby requires those bacteria to grow in the body. Lack of those bacteria is one of the reasons that baby will, or a lot of children in last 20, 30 years have started developing allergies, asthmas, all these kind of autoimmune conditions are happening. So if somebody is pregnant, make sure if you are going to have a Caesar, you can ask your obstetrician to make sure even at C-section that baby is exposed to the secretion. So normal vaginal delivery, that's why was very healthy in that manner. The baby was covered with mother's secretions. When we were young, we were rolling within mud. We were getting exposed to nature's own different mechanisms to help us grow this immune system. So extra, living in a city situation where everything is spick and span, there's good things about it, but there are bad sides to it. Your bodies become too sterile as well. So we need to rebalance the whole concept of how we are living. And as I said, it's very important. for many different types of diseases, including cancer, including your mental health, depression, and
Mhm.
other illnesses, and your immune system.
Mhm. Yeah, so Doc, that's really, really so good of you to explaining all that to us, and people are really appreciating that. Let me just remind our listeners that this this video will be posted on YouTube first thing tomorrow morning, so you'll be able to hear and watch it again and again, because some of the technical things that Dr. Raghwa mentioned may not be too easy for all of us. I know it's not easy for me, but anyway, so in a nutshell, the inflammation is the root of most disease, doctor, and a poor gut health is tied to a number of disease. So to cure all that, we have to go and have a microbiome diet, which with the foods that you said to have and food not to have, and that's about that basic thing to do. Uh, yes, you would you
Yes.
have your
So, yeah. So it starts from birth, as I said. As the baby is born, it starts from there. That our microbiological microbiome environment needs to be maintained. And now it's only recently that we realized that maintenance of this good gut health is really paramount to preventing lots of diseases that is prevalent in our society: diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, lot of mental illnesses, immune dysfunction, all this, and Crohn's disease, all these gut diseases. We will be able to actually reduce it or control it in a much better manner if we start listening to what I have said. And I'm most happy to actually, if someone wants to chat on Facebook or on my page or wherever, want more information, I can actually give more information. And I'm happy to take basically questions and go a bit more in more detail, because I just don't want to overload you with information as well. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but I'm sure it might not be as easy to understand for everyone. So make sure you do all those things, and try and make sure, be aware when you get viral infections, cold and flus, don't ask your doctor to give you antibiotic,
in the
because
meantime.
we are used to asking for antibiotic. Antibiotic, only take it when there's bacterial infection, only when doctor tells you, because that antibiotic is actually killing your microorganisms. If for some reason you do have to take antibiotic, make sure you follow next few weeks with some probiotic. Yeah,
Mhm.
some yogurt, so Yakult, or any other types of food that I say, like good high rich green vegetables, colored vegetables, fruit. They are called prebiotic. Probiotic are those things that come in small, like Yakult and stuff. So both combined will actually get the flora going, if in case you took again antibiotic. Because antibiotic is another reason. You understand, 70% of all those animals that we buy as food actually are treated with antibiotics. And why they are treated with antibiotics? Because they grow fast, so that they are going onto the shelf very quickly. So they are contributing towards this resistance of many of these bacteria, and they are carrying that chemicals within them what you are eating. So there's lots of things that is happening without our knowledge. So
Mhm.
just be aware that antibiotics is another important factor in all this that I talked, in trying to maintain a good health and a gut balance and a good microbiome. And just be aware, we have to learn to live with this thing. There are more than 100 trillion bacteria in our body, so we can't separate from them. We need them for good health and a healthy body and mind as well.
Doctor, thank you so much. We're getting lots of positive feedback from people. Very informative and makes sense. And thank you for documenting the presentation and all those good things that people are saying. Thank you so much, Doctor. What we'll do is I'll also write down email addresses for yourself and myself. If anybody wants to contact you, they can do that. We'll have the phone numbers there also. Doctor, if you are happy, then we'll close that subject on
Yeah,
microbiome
thank you.
at the moment. And just briefly, very briefly, we've run out of time. Really briefly, we'll just discuss a couple of things that we want to discuss when you are here with us next time. Things like disability support is very important, and our friends have requested that we should talk about that. And how best can we support our friends in Fiji? I know you send a lot of goods for charities and things like instruments and IT goods and whatever to people over there. How can we coordinate all that together so that there are other charities too, mind you, as you know, that are sending a lot of things to Fiji. So we maybe should come out with some kind of just to revise on what's happening, try to understand what's happening, how we are, doing all these things. Would you be okay to discuss that next time?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think it might be a good idea to invite people like some community leaders who are involved with actually trying to help people with disability. Obviously, it's a much more complicated area, given that there are many different types of disability, from blindness to help with hearing to people who are paraplegic or quadriplegic, who need wheelchair, who need support. There are different components to these things, so it would be good to identify some people who are involved with this kind of good work, and then we can talk through it. Obviously, we need political influence on this at the level of the country that we are talking about, be it Fiji or anywhere. I mean, Australia has a very good disability scheme which was brought about by Julia Gillard, and there's a good support system. So the political interest has to be there. So if we are able to attract someone, say at a political level, either the ambassador, Fiji ambassador to Australia, or anyone online, and we talk through different ways how the community can get together, especially people living overseas, and in helping people who have disability in Fiji. It would be a really very good something that people who are doing well, who have migrated, can give back, because those people always get left behind. People who are disabled, nobody actually does things for them because they can't do for themselves, and who is there to speak for them? So I think your concern is really very admirable.
Okay, so thank you so much. So any final message you want to give before we call it a day?
Yeah, I guess something very old our grandparents talked about: how to eat food, how to chew food, what type of food to eat, is now making a comeback, and with a dramatic impact on actually changing the diseases that we acquired in the last 50 years. There is a chance, without chemical synthetic medications, that we can actually control them and actually can eradicate them as well, or prevent them, our next generation getting them. So please get on board, understand good gut health, try and let's do those things. And it is very easy. You don't actually require a doctor to do this thing. You become your own doctor of your own body. You are in control of what you eat and things. You are helping the microorganisms in your gut, which are now coming to be known as the most important factor as part of our body system that causes diseases, including cancers, heart disease, mental illnesses, obesity, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, all these different types of irritable bowel syndrome. These are very common diseases. Your reflux disease, your gastritis. Simple things. Stop soda drink if you can now. Try and stop the artificial sweetness. Try and not take sugar as much as you can. Avoid all fructose-based syrups. Try and go for natural foods, colored foods, green vegetables, fruits, legumes, lots of nuts that our parents used to give us, yogurt, fermented food. Have some red food like apple, grapes, strawberry. These have very high what's called phenols in there, which helps with removing what's called radicals in your body, which damage your cells in your body. So doing all those and trying to avoid alcohol and unnecessary types of you wouldn't need all the supplement that we take. If you started taking all those foods that I mentioned, then all these other things that we are doing, which is actually harming the bacterial population in our body, won't be done. So yeah, let's get back to basics. It's probably not such a difficult thing. So as I said, come on, if you have any doubts, if you can't understand what I'm saying, just write to me. Let's
Yes,
talk
sir.
about it. Let's talk again if you need. People need
That's
to
it.
talk again about this thing. We could do another session. Thank
Okay,
you,
sir.
and thank you all for listening.
Okay, and Doctor, just a suggestion from Radhini Yunus: eat organic food. Try and grow your own food. So that's a good
Yes,
suggestion, Radhini.
that's what it is. It's
Yes.
actually our parents did it. People who lived in villages never had all these kind of diseases that we are getting in now. Or suddenly, it's actually making our life very difficult.
So once again, Doc, thank you so much for throwing lights on all these subjects. Very informative, and very, very important for a lot of people. So once again, Doc, I'd like to thank you and thanks for coming, Chai with Vijay. I'd like to thank the audience also for watching this program, and thanks to Facebook and YouTube medias for allowing us to do that. I like to also invite any professionals out there who wants to come and talk to us and share your knowledge about the expertise of on your subject, your profession. We'll welcome you. Please let me know, and we'll arrange for a meeting for you to come. We come on social media twice a week. We were here yesterday and today. Also, well, that's it for now. I'm Vijay Jogia, your host, your friend, and I'm logging you out from our system. Until next time, stay safe and be happy and keep distance, and make sure you keep your gut healthy as per doctor. So once again, thank you everyone, and we will hope to see you soon. Thank you, doctor.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.